We live in a new age, the age of AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. That age has already started, as I reported earlier this year, even though some might contest that, because we are in the middle of building out artificial general intelligence, an intelligence that can help you do anything you want and can help businesses replace any employee they want. And that becomes more and more a reality, with unemployment already showing serious signs of distress in the junior and college grad segments, and now creeping up all the way to senior positions. That will accelerate the next year. But the bottom line is AGI is changing everything. It's empowering us to suddenly engineer reality and project our visions onto the universe in much more effective ways. That's what we are doing in Pioneerlands. By the way, pioneerlands.net, go there. That's where we are discussing the future. One company that has been a little bit overlooked and is perceived as a loser right now among the top dogs is Meta and Zuckerberg. As we know, they are part of the hyperscaler crowd, part of the Max 7, together with Amazon, Microsoft, NVDA, Google, Tesla, and so on and so forth. But Meta has been falling behind. While Microsoft and Google and Tesla and Elon and NVIDIA and Amazon are all pressing ahead, partnering up, either building XAI with Tesla and Elon, or partnering with OpenAI, or being Google with Gemini, or being Amazon with Anthropic. They're building amazing models that are world leading. And Meta has been falling behind. That made Zuckerberg very angry. Behind the scenes, they pursued an open source strategy with the Llama model series, which in the beginning was competitive in 2023, early 2024, and then fell behind more and more. And people were very concerned. Is Meta the new Apple, the super loser? Apple is completely disconnected from the AI revolution, which is extremely bad for Apple. And they don't seem to have a chance of catching up. But Apple also has a weak CEO, right, who's not in sync with this whole revolution, different from the other six. Zuckerberg is the one who's very keen on winning this, but has lost so far. For me, that makes this a very interesting situation. And I will today talk about why I think Meta might be the most interesting stock to look at and the surprise catch-up candidate. Of course, I remain a total Tesla bull. I think Tesla has the most no-nonsense, no-brainer risk-reward in that whole crowd. I think NVIDIA is tremendously strong, but too transparent, too little alpha. It's too obvious that NVIDIA just wins. Therefore, the stock alpha we can generate is not as large as Tesla. I think Microsoft, Amazon, very similar situation to NVIDIA. Mega bullish companies, perfectly run. Same with Google. But it's too transparent. Where's the alpha? Where's the surprise? Now, Meta is an interesting case because it looks so bad. When things look bad, sometimes that's good for us. So let's take a look before we go into the details, what Meta stock is actually doing. Let's see how this looks like. Meta stock not performing too well. Why is this not loading? Well, we have to wait for the internet. Here it is. Share this tab. So we see Meta platforms not performing very well over the last 6 months. Look at this disaster. At the earnings call, they had a dramatic drop very recently in November. Look at this, a complete disaster. Hey, creating these videos is a lot of work. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Now let's get back to the video. And down now year to date, this is this problem again. Let's look for Meta on Google Finance. It actually has good charts. We see that year to date, things are not looking good. Negative 2% year to date, not very impressive. 6 months performance, negative 8%. 1 month performance, complete disaster, 20%. It dropped like a stone after these earnings. And we also see the PE ratio at 25. Let that sink in. 25 for one of the greatest companies on earth with 3 billion users, with a completely perfect setup to dominate AI, even though they lose right now. But the setup, 3 billion users, enormous data on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. You know the whole Meta universe. This is serious business. Massive amounts of data. The only reason they are performing so badly is because the market says, you guys are crazy. You're spending like a drunken sailor on GPUs. massive capex. Zuckerberg is on a complete spending spree and is building out these data centers like crazy, which I think is very bullish. So they have the data, they have the compute, they actually have the talent, and we are going to the talent now, why the story becomes so interesting now. Because to shortcut the story today, I think Meta has massive data on par with Google, on par with Apple or exceeding Apple, on par with Tesla and XAI and exceeding them, because they have the biggest user base in the world. Now they have the compute because Zuckerberg is spending like a drunken sailor, as I said. They have a compute. So what is missing? The third component for AI superiority: data is number one, compute number two, algorithm number three. Algorithm is another word for team, for talent. Do they have the thinkers? And can they actually pull it off to be as good as Google Gemini, as good as Anthropic with Amazon, as good as NVDA and Microsoft with everyone in bed with them, and as good as the Elon teams on XAI and Tesla? Of course, the answer is no right now, but why? And I want to look into that. Look at this report that I had open here. This is all about the team. Mark Zuckerberg published here on Tuesday, June 10th this year, is reportedly recruiting a team to build super intelligence. You probably remember this. Suddenly, Zuckerberg was in the news when everyone knew, oh, Llama looks lame. Llama, lamer. The Llama frontier model, very bad. Zuckerberg got mad and said, let's go on a buying spree and buy all the best talent. He spent a lot of money. And this is what CNN reports. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is personally assembling a team to achieve a super intelligence. Machines that are capable of surpassing human capabilities. Zuckerberg is reportedly so frustrated with Meta's effort in the artificial intelligence space that he has taken it upon himself to meet with experts in the field at his homes in Lake Tahoe and Palo Alto. Meta and Zuckerberg did not immediately respond to requests to comment, but we know that from behind the scenes. I know it from a lot of people. Zuckerberg went on a hiring spree, invited everyone to his homes, like, oh, visit me, I want to hire you, and then actually made some very successful hires. Zuckerberg plans to hire about 50 people and has shifted the layout of the company's Menlo Park headquarters to put the new AI team near his office. Tuesday, citing people that asked to remain anonymous, Zuckerberg has personally taken on his task because he's frustrated with the progress of Llama 4, Meta's latest large language model, according to Bloomberg. The New York Times, which separately confirmed many details of the report, also said that Alexander Wang, and we will get to Alexander Wang, he is the key person. The 20-year-old founder and CEO of startup Scale AI is part of the project, with Meta mulling billions in investment in his company. Okay, so mark down Alexander Wang. Alexander Wang is this guy here. He is very smart. He's a Chinese American, born in 1997, not very old. And he is an MIT grad and founded Scale AI, which is basically a company that prepares and formats data to be AI ready. He goes into large organizations and prepares and digests and restructures the data so they become AI compatible, right? So he also did some very cool things where you can tell he's an unusual thinker, a smart cookie. Sometimes it's a good sign when people get intelligently political, and that's what he actually did to counter DEI, the DEI virus that destroys companies, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He actually, as a young leader, very good, stood up against the mob and said he formalized a merit, excellence, and intelligence MEI hiring policy, stating, we believe that people should be judged by the content of their character and as colleagues by additionally judged by their talent, skills, and work ethic. Content of the character, slap in the face of the DEI crowd. And that was very impressive. That tells you he thinks a little bit out of the box and is not afraid. So I don't want to be political here, but it tells you high IQ, controversial, can think out of the box, right? So he was extremely successful, the youngest billionaire ever. And then guess what? Zuckerberg actually not just invested in Alexander Wang's company, but took it over. He bought the whole company for a lot of money, I think for 10 billion or something. And that was very, very big news. He bought the entire company. And now Alexander Wang is actually the boss of Zuckerberg's AI team. Joined Meta in June 2025 as the company's first ever chief AI officer. Very shortly after this article, they acquired the entire company, $29 billion valuation. And Zuckerberg bought the entire thing, which was to some extent just an acqui-hire of enormous, unprecedented proportions. And he made him chief AI officer. So why is this so important? I will get to a second person now. This is all about people. That makes clear why this is so important. Who was in charge of Zuckerberg's AI meta efforts before? Well, it's a guy called Jan LeCun. I had some Twitter feuds with Jan LeCun, and here he is. It's a professor dude.
I'm not so interested in LLMs anymore. You know, they're kind of the last thing. They are in the hands of, you know, industry product people, kind of, you know, improving at the margin, trying to get, you know, more data, more compute, generating synthetic data.
So listen to this. I will play it again for you guys. I will make it a little louder maybe. Here is talking about LLMs. In case you didn't notice, that is all of AI right now. This is the entire world runs on large language models, LLMs. That is the revolution we're looking at. Here's a French academic who came up with some stuff in the past, who led Zuckerberg's AI efforts. And here's what he says about the thing that everyone is focusing on Google. Everyone is building these things.
So interested in LLMs anymore. You know, they're kind of the last thing. They are in the hands of, you know, industry product people, kind of, you know, improving at the margin, trying to get, you know, more data, more compute, generating synthetic data. I think there are more interesting questions
here. So I'm not interested, he says. I'm not interested in LLMs anymore. There's just some industry people doing stuff on the margins and putting more compute and data in and synthetic data. Dude, this is called your job. This is your job. This is literally your job. You have to do that. You have to compete. You have to win. And he says he doesn't find it interesting. I know. It's definitely not interesting for him.
Four things. How you get machines to understand the physical world. And Jensen talked about this this morning in this keynote. How do you get them to have persistent memory, which not too many people talk about. And then the last two.
I don't know when this interview was, but everyone talked about memory, and you can actually create longer memory with LLMs by piping it around it, which people do now through embeddings and so on. So again, not thinking pragmatically here.
How do you get them to reason and plan? And there is some effort, of course, to get, you know, LLMs to reason. But in my opinion, it's a very kind of simplistic way of viewing reasoning. I think there are probably kind of more, you know, better way of doing this. So I'm excited about things that a lot of people in this community, in the tech community, might get excited about 5 years from now.
See, you can hear a little condescending, like, oh, you guys are just dummy engineers. You're just engineers. You are getting excited about the things I, as a great scientist, get excited about now. You will get excited in 5 years. Okay, Jan LeCun, this is all very funny, and you're so smart. You're actually not very smart, in my opinion. Here, I said it. But this is not the game you're playing. You shouldn't be at Meta leading this stuff if you don't come to work. It's not about mocking engineers that they are not getting it right now and they will get excited about your stuff in 5 years. Well, in 5 years, you will not be at Meta anymore because you failed this year. While the other people actually solve all the problems you talked about. Memory, reasoning, staying on task. All of that stuff can access all the time now. With LLMs, because you can actually pipe around the problems, because if you're a pragmatist, you figure that out if you're an engineer. So it was the wrong person on the wrong job. And here's the point. You saw Jan LeCun now, right? He's a little bit like, has a little bit of an attitude. He's a French academic. Guess what happens if this guy's in charge and Zuckerberg hires this guy to put him on top of LeCun? When this happened, I knew this is going to happen. It's basically a slap in the face. A young, aggressive Chinese-American super billionaire entrepreneur guy who hacks the hell out of AI becomes now the boss of Jan LeCun. How long is this going to last? Not very long. 3 months exactly. We'll get into this in a second. But here's Alexander Wang, just so you get an idea. You don't even need to know too much about it. But
OpenAI first produced GPT-4 in the lab. China were nowhere near that. But just even the past few months, there was a Chinese company, 01.ai, that produced a model Yi Large that is one of the best models in the world. So it's behind GPT-4o, Gemini, and Claude 3 Opus. And it's the next model right behind that in the leaderboards. So we've already seen them meaningfully catch up. Chinese LLM and AI capabilities are, I would say right now, pretty close to neck and neck with you.
Just to comment on this, you just saw Jan LeCun, how he thinks, oh, I'm not interested in LLMs, and you will be very excited in 5 years once you understand how smart I am. Right? He does the exact opposite. He said, well, I'm absolutely interested in LLMs. Here's the rankings. Here's what the Chinese are doing. Here's how they catch up. Here's exactly what's happening. That's the kind of thinking you need if you want to get anything
US capabilities. And I think if you plot the path ahead based on everything we've talked about with data, they have a clear shot at racing forward. And what we've seen even in the past few years on solar and then most recently EVs, you're seeing this pattern play out over and over again where the CCP approach to industrial policy is not the most innovative. But once an industry has been established and it's about, turning the crank, they are better at turning the crank than any other economy in the world. When OpenAI first produced...
See, this was a little bit about China, but you see the thinking. Alexander Wang is just on top of his game. He knows what he's doing. He's hacking the hell out of it. He knows how to build stuff. So very exciting that he's in charge. But if you have any experience with corporate politics, of course, as long as Jan LeCun was just still sitting there underneath him with his tentacles everywhere, of course, you can't get anything done. So guess what happens next? Not hard to predict, but this just came out. This just came out very recently. I think, when was that? Couple of days ago, November 11th, so a week ago. Wall Street Lunch, Meta's chief AI scientist Jan LeCun plans to exit. Surprise, he's pissed. Meta faces AI leadership changes as Jan LeCun departs, prompting a strategic shift towards commercial AI development under Mark Zuckerberg. Very good, Seeking Alpha gets it. Exactly, it's a shift towards commercial AI. I mean, hello, what other AI is there? Like, there is only commercial AI if you're Meta. So what else do we have here? Turing Award-winning AI scientist like heads to startup land, so he's out, he quits, he's pissed, he doesn't like the whole situation. Our top story so far, footsteps continue to echo in Meta's AI halls, coming and going. This time, Chief Artificial Intelligence Scientist and Turing Award winner Jan LeCun heading for the exit. He plans to leave the company to launch his own startup. His departure comes as Mark Zuckerberg overhauls Meta AI strategy. After concluding Meta has fallen behind key rivals, Zuckerberg has shifted emphasis from long-term research at the company's fundamental AI research lab led by LeCun since 2013 towards faster deployment of commercial models and products. Yes, not good. Your head AI guy says he doesn't like LLMs. While everyone, the entire world, and your Mac 7 competitors are jumping on it and squeezing the hell out of it. Then he brought Alexander Wang in, spending $14.3 billion to hire this guy and take a 49% stake. So he basically put not 49% stake for $14.3 billion into Scale and conditional on Alexander Wang joining Meta to become the AI boss. So what else do we have here? Last week, this Oracle and Meta did not immediately respond. Of course, there's like Burry saying, Michael Burry, the big short dude, saying this is all wrong accounting on CapEx, blah, 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 doesn't matter. And then next thing you know, Burry closes his funds and quits the whole thing because he completely failed on this. So this is all I wanted to show you guys. So you have to understand why I'm getting very bullish. This is why we are watching this channel here, Discuss in Pioneerlands, because a lot of people don't actually understand what's going on here. They think, ooh, now Jan LeCun leaves, isn't that bad? No, Meta had it all lined up, perfect. A sea of data, now a sea of compute. The only thing they didn't have is brains to develop the algorithms. But how can it be explained that Meta doesn't have the brains when they spend so much money, are in the middle of Silicon Valley, are led by Zuckerberg, who's not a dummy, and he got all these great teams? Because there was a blocker in the middle of Meta. And I tell you guys, I'm a little allergic against some people. I had all these discussions on X, Jan LeCun. This dude didn't get it for years and years, and he's like, oh, LLMs are bad. It's like, what are you talking about? You have to do your job. And your job is to take the LLMs as the cutting edge AI solution right now and make it work even better, like all your competitors do, who completely cream you. It's like, no, I don't think so. We should do this, something more evolved. It's like, bro, this is not the time to do this stuff. Go back to university and figure it out and come back when it works. In the meantime, we have to win. You understand that? It's like, oh no, you're so dumb. Okay, goodbye, LeCun. So now we are in a situation where you have basically one of the best setups in the world, definitely a top 5, maybe even a top 3 setup for AI, including Elon, Google, Microsoft. One of the best setups in the world is Meta. And this whole setup was sabotaged by one dude. That's how I see it. Jan LeCun, who's just stupid, incompetent. Why do I like this situation so much? Because now the market has been conditioned to believe Meta sucks in AI. My opinion is they don't suck. My opinion is it was one dude blocking the entire operation. My opinion is Zuckerberg is fully aware. There are a bunch of interviews. He's fully aware that this is the game of his lifetime. He is fully aware that he has to win in AI. He is fully aware that he has to spend tens of billions. That's why he got punished by Wall Street, who is stupid about this. So we here understand this a little bit better, what's going on. And this whole Jan LeCun replacement by Alexander Wang, we go from super bad to actually super good. I'm very bullish. The same way I'm extremely bearish on Jan LeCun, who I think is a complete failure. Alexander Wang, on the other side of the equation, I think is a complete anti-failure. He is a winner because he has a Chinese hacker mindset. He has shown he can build massive companies. He's in sync with the market. And he has a leg in China, and he has his main focus on the United States, which is also very good. He knows both worlds. I don't think Alexander Wang is someone who wants to fail. And I think he has what it takes to win. And he for sure has the complete backing of Zuckerberg. So let's go a little bit into the strategy before we wrap it up. Actually, Zuckerberg published this little letter in July 30th after this whole operation of taking over Wang. There's not too much deep strategy. There's a little bit blah, blah, but I want to it's from Zuckerberg. This is the official thing. So let's read quickly through it. There are some golden nuggets in there that we can actually extract information from. And then we want to go into interpreting this, putting it on a timeline and see when the stock might recover and maybe even more than recover. By the way, every time Meta dropped big time, it was a buy. Meta is one of the big winners, and now the drop's pretty brutal, which is good for us. I initiated a tiny little position, by the way. I don't mind if it drops more, but I like to have a little position so I see it in my portfolio and see what happens. And then I can decide when I double down. But here's what Zuckerberg says. Over the last few months, we have begun to see glimpses of our AI systems improving themselves. Well, I don't think so, but fine, Zuckerberg. The improvement is slow for now. I believe that. But undeniable. Developing superintelligence is now in sight. It seems clear that in the coming years, AI will improve all our existing systems. Very important. All our existing systems. And you see it in the earnings report that it already starts to actually improve the core business of Meta a lot, the ads, and enable the creation and discovery of new things that aren't imaginable today. That's actually what Meta is working on now. We know that. They want to take all the brand managers that are, they're making all their money through advertisements, and they want to get to an end-to-end solution where you're the brand manager of McDonald's or something, or a little startup, say, you know what, I want to sell this thing. And Meta actually takes it from there and does all the creative and the placement and the media optimization and delivers sales back. I mean, just think about that. Complete domination if that happens. In some areas, in some ways, this will be a new era for humanity, yada, 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 humanity. But in others, it's just the continuation of historical trends. 200 years ago, 90% of people were farmers, growing foods to survive. Advances in technology have steadily freed much of humanity at each step. People have used our newfound productivity to achieve more than was previously possible. Sure. I'm extremely optimistic that superintelligence will help humanity accelerate our pace of progress. But perhaps even more important is that superintelligence has the potential to begin a new era of personal empowerment where people will have greater agency to improve the world in the directions they choose. Yada, yada, yada. Meta's vision is to bring personal superintelligence to everyone. This is very important. We'll get into this in a second. So their vision is to decentralize this. They want to focus on open source. And I think that's a very smart thing because that's the only game in town right now to actually bypass the advantage the other guys have. XAI, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Gemini, because they're all closed models. So Meta is behind. What do? Do open source, accumulate larger user bases and developer bases through open source by making it free. And that's how they can get more data and overtake the others. It's a good move if you're behind. This is distinct from others in the industry. So that's exactly the 4 others I just named, who believe superintelligence should be directed centrally towards automating all valuable work, and then humanity will live on a dole of its output. At Meta, we believe that people pursuing their individual aspirations is how we have always made progress expanding prosperity. Science. This will increasingly be important in the future as well. The intersection of technology and how people live is Meta's focus. And this will only become more important in the future. If trends continue, then you would expect people to spend less time in productivity software. So they want to take out SaaS, the SaaS industry, multi-trillion dollars, and more time creating and connecting, which I agree with, by the way. So people will spend less on all the stupid little software and be more free to create, and AI will just execute what they want to create. And if you own people's personal life and creativity through Meta's platforms and then can own the execution through their own AI, you shortcut and cut everyone else out. Personal devices like glasses that understand our context because they can see what we see, hear, and so on and so forth are great. So there's no doubt if glasses ever would work, the stuff you put on that sees everything, of course, Meta wins. It's not hard to understand if you have all humans running around, 3 billion humans with your glasses and collect all their personal data. Of course, you win, but can you make people do that? That's the big question. Definitely, you can make them easier to do it with glasses than with Oculus and Apple things. So that will be interesting. Zuckerberg is after the data. And with Llama and open source, the idea here is, let me just outline the open source strategy. If you have an LLM and you give it out for free and people feel it's very personal and private because it runs on their own servers and it's not being, extracted all the data out like Elon does and Gemini does and Anthropic and OpenAI, you trust it more, then people develop more systems on top of a Llama, then they become dependent on Llama, but Zuckerberg still has centrally run Llama, and then over time, he can actually capture more and more market share with his central Llama, and then the central Llama, of course, sucks all the data out like the other guys too. So basically, if you have an open source play, you stretch your little greedy Zuckerberg tentacles out and pretend it's all safe, make people addicted to your model, and then in the centralized cloud, where you compete against the other guys to grab all the data from people, you can win as an outsider because of your little tentacles. So it's interesting and definitely the right strategy for Meta. But their model cannot suck. It needs to be good. So you see, it is a super high priority. Meta believes strongly in building personal superintelligence that empowers everyone. So that's their little plan. They want to put superintelligence into your pocket and they will pretend it's safer because you're not dependent on their cloud. So you fall for them and then become dependent on their cloud. Not dumb. Evil, of course, but that's table stakes. We have the resources and the expertise to build the massive infrastructure required, that is true, and the capability and will to deliver new technologies to billions of people across our products. It's true. They have massive infrastructure, they have massive data, and they have the biggest user base of all. So this is how it looks like. You can see I'm getting very bullish on this whole situation. Now the question is, when will we see results from this whole crazy situation and plan, right? Definitely not now. Right now it sucks, the whole situation for Meta. They keep going down, which is good for us. We have now the heads up, and no, Meta is the big surprise here. It's undervalued. This PE ratio, let that sink in. At their growth, 25 PE. At one of the mega players, Nvidia is at 33 PE. Market cap is 1.48 trillion. They're smaller than Tesla or whatever, like roughly the size of Tesla. So they're not even big, but they have the biggest user base in the world. They have complete determination to grab all the users. They have a brilliant strategy. So that is very interesting. Massively more attractive than Apple, by the way. Apple is at 33 PE too, like Nvidia, and Apple just sucks from A to Z. Apple has no chance in this whole race. They are completely disconnected from AI. So my bet is Meta will be the big surprise. My bet is this stock should be at 33, not 25, which is massively higher than it is now. And the question is, when will this turn around? And I would bet, because they already had time, and now LeCun is finally gone, which is such a relief. I think within 12 months, we will see strong surprises from Meta. Give them 12 months. And so there you have it. If within 12 months, we see the PE ratio going to 33 and more, that will be very interesting, because don't forget, their earnings also going up all the time. So it's not just, from 25 to 33, it's going to go higher because they're on an upwards trajectory. So that's my opinion on Meta. Look at this. This is Meta 5 years. If you bought it here, 126, went all the way up to 765, and now is down big time. I think, nearly as low as in the tariff panic. I think this is a buy, but not short term, right? You don't know how much more it can drop. I don't think much more, and you don't know when actually Wall Street has to realize what's going on. So we will keep the coverage of that stock. I think it's a very interesting AI story. I would say it's the most underrated AI bet now that LeCun is gone. And I think we will see Meta up there with the others and maybe even exceeding them. It's always good to be the underdog. So there you have it. We'll keep our eyes on the Mag 7 and see what they're up to. I hope that was interesting. Stay tuned, and we will have much more tomorrow.